Hello, and welcome back to our series from self-leader to people leader. I am excited that you are back, and if you are new to me, my name is Jaleesa Dallas. I help individuals and organizations cultivate courage, and that looks like helping them break barriers to their success, bolster belief for greater confidence, and build bold, brave behaviors to optimize their life, thereby providing belonging internally and externally in community. Again, I am excited that you are here. And this series, man, we have done some digging with this series because I am sharing with you a compilation of 10 plus learning lessons that I have experienced as a result of taking on more leadership opportunities, as well as just learning how I'm growing and developing as a leader. We're talking about the courage to lead, essentially looking at how to navigate self-doubt, responsibility, and growth. So I'm going a little bit deeper into some of these areas. If you're noticing, I am in a different background because I just celebrated my birthday on yesterday. So I am out of town and the show continues to go on. So I am grateful that you are here. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share this with someone you know. I would truly appreciate it. And for those that you know that are aspiring leaders, are in leadership right now, looking at how to navigate it with everything that's going on in the world, this is your place to be. I also want to remind you that Brave on Purpose is happening tomorrow, actually August 13th. For those who are watching it Tuesday, because these go up Tuesdays at 6 p.m. So if you are looking for a place to just get information on how to lead with values and how to do so courageously, then tomorrow is going to be the perfect place for you to connect with us, with a like-minded community, to learn more about how to be brave on purpose. I'll be sharing with you our anchors for courageous leadership, as well as the cost of inaction, values, and just what it means to be courageous in the way the world is unfolding today. When I'm mentioning self-doubt, I'm really talking about imposter syndrome. When it comes to leadership, imposter syndrome is a real thing. And this was something that was established some time ago. I don't recall the dates or all the details associated with it, but imposter syndrome was a lot closely related to women in the workplace. And so with that being at the foundation, it was essentially us thinking of ourselves as unqualified and not prepared for what was presented before us. And so with that being said, when it comes to leadership, imposter syndrome is a thing that we have to navigate, that self-doubt, not thinking that we have all the tools and all the strategies, even having all the education to be able to maneuver through leadership effectively. As you know, I have my notes so I can stay on track and actually give you the rundown on how I see imposter syndrome is kind of getting in the way of us navigating leadership and its effectiveness. And so when I think of imposter syndrome, I think about it being a combination of self and systemic sabotage. Self-sabotage in us getting in our own way, in us becoming the barrier to our success, in us very much leaning into behaviors, mindsets, ways of life that are dysfunctional, that are destructive, and we have full awareness that it's happening because we're doing it to ourselves. And sometimes it's as a result of past experiences that led us into doing things that prevent us from being successful. So with that, that's the self-sabotage piece. And I talk a lot about self-sabotage in my book, Soul Work: Disrupt Self-Sabotage, Renew Your Mind, and Transform Your Life. And I dig deeper into those things. So I do recommend that you get that. And if you want to read kind of a brief overview of that, you can go to www.soulworkthebook.com, where I have the first chapter there where you can download for free. And so that will give you some more definitions, more insight into self-sabotage, as well as the soul work process. When I mention systemic sabotage, that's when systems, policies, procedures, even people prevent us from accessing the resources that are ours so that we can lead effectively. There are just some things that we all should universally have access to, and there are some limitations to that because of the systems that are in place. Again, the policies, procedures, and people that prevent access and resources for the masses. I believe those systems and ourselves can be what create that imposter syndrome when it comes to leadership. Second to that is the weight of leadership. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with leadership, and that weight was not anything that I particularly wanted. And I've been in various leadership roles or have had various leadership capacities for which maybe I've led student leaders, professionals, volunteers, in different ways. One thing that I found in being a leader in these various capacities in varying industries over varying populations of people and their levels of engagement is that hand-holding is not my thing. When I lead, I want to lead beside you, but not necessarily holding your hand, actually giving you insight in how to navigate the journey where we're walking side by side. In some instances, I am ahead because I may have overcome or I may have gone through a certain thing that I'm giving perspective of. But holding hands, I really think of it as me navigating my niece and nephew. They're children. They don't know any better. They're small people. And so they're not able to see certain things at certain levels. Now, granted, I know that that's some way that we have to lead people, but hand holding, I believe that people, adults, are very capable of navigating life without their hands being held. Now, in some of those instances where people need hand holding and a little bit more guidance, maybe I'm not your person, and that is completely okay. And I no harm, no foul in that. It could just be that I am not your person if I'm having to hold your hand. And it may seem a little harsh, a little like, oh, well, I don't like that she said that. Well, it's the truth. And I'd rather be transparent and honest with you in how I lead, but I'm going to give you the tools that you need, and I'm going to let you run with those tools. I'm going to let you develop with autonomy. And then when you need support and additional guidance, come ask questions. I might return with some questions to get you to start processing and reflecting on what matters to you most, because at the end of the day, that's what matters. I can give you all the guidance, I could give you all the information step by step, but if you don't have a passion, if you don't have a purpose, if you don't have a why around what it is that you're doing, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to navigate this journey on your own. And so that is coming from a place of me being a leader. When I think of the weight of leadership, a few things that I want to highlight. It is beyond taking ownership. The responsibility of leadership does require you to take ownership as a leader when it comes to effectively training people, communicating expectations, but it's not that you're taking ownership of that person being able to develop their own leadership capacity. It's you taking ownership when something does fall through the cracks. You as a leader will make up for it and be strategic on how to move forward in the future. Another thing is that when you are in leadership, that weight is in influencing the well-being and development of those that you lead. You have to be an example. One thing that I will say is that I've had supervisors in the past who have not led by example when it has come to well-being, where they've overworked themselves, they've stressed themselves out, their family suffered, and it was not a way that I wanted to be a leader. Then I've had some leaders and supervisors in my life that have demonstrated great leadership as it pertains to their well-being and development. They prioritized family, they prioritize taking time off and their mental well-being, even taking mental health days, taking sick days to kind of process and deal with everything that's going on in the world, refreshing themselves so that they can be able to refresh others. Another thing that I want to highlight is that The weight of leadership requires you to be a thorough decision maker. And when you're making decisions, a lot of that weighs on your value systems or your systems of belief or your faith in a sense, which I equate that to your systems of belief, which help you to develop your values. Is integrity of value? Is growth of value? Those things are necessary to have as your filtration system when you're making decisions, and especially making decisions as a whole for a larger organization or even for your small business. It's going to help you to make the right partnerships, communicate the right message. And then another weight when it comes to leadership is accountability. I talked to you all last week about the leadership promise and how it's so important that we make a promise to ourselves to build out that why, so therefore that accountability is more helpful in the long run, because not only are you keeping yourself accountable, but then you rely on external components to keep you accountable, making you more able to practice consistency effectively, building that discipline and execution, and then furthermore making that a lifestyle for which you are leading effectively. Then when you think about the responsibility of leadership or that weight of leadership, there is an emotional labor, being in the thick of the ebbs and flows of people's emotions, your own emotions, as you address certain things in leadership. In this current climate, there are a lot of emotions. People are for certain things and or are against certain things. So how do you navigate uncomfortable conversations? How do you navigate pushback and resistance and misunderstandings and miscommunications? And so that emotional labor is a part of the weight of responsibility when it comes to leadership. And then the last part I want to talk about when it comes to that weight of leadership is the pressure to perform. The pressure to perform. And I've lived in this space definitely longer than I should have. And it's actually one of the progress hijackers that I identify in my book, Soul Work. And I also talk about that in the first chapter. I talk about performance, people pleasing, procrastination, and perfectionism. And be it that performance is one of those progress hijackers, it is necessary for us to really navigate leadership, not in a performance place or in that pressure of performance, but really being about, potential and process. As a leader, we don't want to lead from a place of performance, because that is just going to display something that we are not. We want to lead from a place of authenticity and genuineness, really showing people what it means to be transparent, what it means to be able to talk through challenges and do so with a level of vulnerability. Another thing that I want to speak to for this conversation today on the courage to lead is about always learning and not being all-knowing. This is not a race towards perfection. By no means do we have to be perfect. I believe if we attempted perfection in leadership, we would all fail and fail miserably. And some of us are trying and aspiring towards that. And we find ourselves in situations and circumstances that we're like, how did we get here? I encourage you to not seek perfection, but rather progress. Again, when we are always learning as leaders, we're always going to be growing. And I believe that's the best example that we can present before others. Well, I hope that this conversation was helpful to you in navigating your own journey of leadership. And so I would love for you to go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, share this with someone you know. And until next time, let your soul work be your best work to a better you. Have a great one.